afraid of getting detained or deported. We're going to break this down right now with the rights of green card holders and what they should know while traveling out of the country. Here to discuss this further is immigration attorney and former president of the American Immigration Lawyers Association, Allen Orr. Allen, really looking forward to this conversation because I think it speaks to a lot of fears that people have, whether you're a legal resident or not. What rights, first and foremost, do permanent residents have?
So I think they have the basic rights of everyone under the Constitution. And this right now is sort of being a policy discussion that people are having and also digesting through the courts. But remember, everyone outside the United States, when you're seeking to enter the United States, will be screened by CBP, including United States citizens who can have their devices searched at the port of entry with regards to whatever they were doing abroad that could be a threat to national security. So I think the first thing to sort of think about, out of that 12 million, if you've never been arrested, you paid your taxes, you haven't spent a lot of time out of the United States, and you haven't done anything, any of these political protests, you probably won't have any trouble traveling in and outside the United States. Things to help you along, if you're traveling in a green card holder, is to sign up for global entry. It doesn't guarantee you in, but it does sort of bait the system to give you that advanced screening. The other thing is to sort of make sure you don't have anything on your device that would seem to be against the political forum of this country right now. So there's no need to have all of your Facebook, all of your Instagram, all those things sort of be linked to something that may be anti this administration. Delete those apps when you're traveling abroad.
You know, you say that, and I immediately think of Mahmoud Khalil, that Columbia University student who was a legal green card holder, who had not been, convicted of any crime, and yet and still he is in ICE detention right now. How do you reconcile that with the reality of that situation? Because I imagine other green card holders looking to that and saying that doesn't kind of square up.
So it does square up because the thing is, now the courts are going to have to deal with it, and it's still working its way through the courts. And right now it's under the immigration courts, which is in the Department of Justice, which is all part of the immigration system. It hasn't made its way to the federal courts yet. So this will be resolved, and you've also seen individuals be released. I will say this in the immigration perspective. Immigration law and due process takes time through the courts. So none of these things are going to be instantly resolved, but the Constitution has stand strong for the length of this nation, which we're celebrating this July, over 200 years, and it will work out to show that these individuals have due process. Justice Scalia said, everybody in this country, even those undocumented, have due process.
I guess then, is there merit in the worries that green card holders have if they do not commit a crime? Because you're saying in the end it'll work out, but I imagine there's people out there who don't want to have to go through the process and then eventually it works out, however long that takes.
Sure, I think that is a valid point, and as a lawyer I would say then don't travel, right? Because if you're that person, then no one should be bothering you within the United States. If you have concerns about travel, first you could seek advice from an attorney to look at your individual situation. But right now, in this crackdown on immigration, and that's part of the problem in the crackdown, everybody with non-immigrant or immigrant visas or brown skin or black skin who has a foreign nation is under the ray to be investigated or sort of taken through to be vetted to make sure that you don't have any concerns against the national security. So yes, I can understand those concerns, but if you don't have any of those issues, you should have no problem traveling. If you do have those issues, then don't travel. If you have those issues and you're in the United States, then it's a good time to see an attorney to make sure that you've resolved those in a positive way with the current immigration laws.
In the history of your time, dealing with these issues and in your experience, did you think we would get to a point where you're advising to a certain extent that you shouldn't travel, even though it's your legal right to do so, even though, as you pointed out, if you haven't committed a crime, you shouldn't have any worries?
Right. I didn't think we would be in this place where we are right now, because I think what we should know about green card holders is that there are people who come full freight to our country paying taxes, and they do not vote. They're the most apolitical people here who contribute to our society, either having a job or whatever they're doing here, but they pay taxes full freight. 8 million of them could be citizens, but they're not even going through the extra exam to be citizens of this country, so they could vote. So these are people who are being taxed as U.S. citizens, but are not voting under our Constitution and have subject themselves to be removal. So it's sort of a small population when you think about the 300 million people that exist in this country. And I don't understand why we have this extra vetting of them at this situation, because in order to get a green card, you've either already gone through a non-immigrant process and it took you 3 or 5 additional years to reach the green card status.
I'm so glad you point out that how in-depth that process is already to get to that point. I'm asking you these questions, but I'm curious, have you had people actually come to you, call you up, come to your office, whatever it may be, and have these very worries and concerns, bring them to your doorstep? And if so, how many?
It's numerous at this point, because the one thing that I think that has happened in this new administration is the criminalization of being an immigrant. And so everybody's at fear. I have individuals who are wanting to do their naturalization, who are concerned about doing their naturalization, who haven't committed any crimes. I have individuals who used to travel to this country once or twice a year, now concerned about traveling to the country because they feel a certain way about things in the Middle East. So all of my clients are on edge, and it feels as if the criminalization of being an immigrant to a country that is founded on immigrants is the new nature and the new day. And I think what it happens is it turns away tourists that come to this country, which bring in almost $1.2 trillion to our economy, and that's not good.
Allen Orr, really appreciate your insight. Attorney Allen Orr, dealing with these issues every day, clearly. Thank you so much.